What's up, everyone? Jason here. It's December 1st, 2021, and enjoying a beautiful evening here in Prescott Valley, Arizona. Actually got up to 70 degrees today, which is awesome for the first day of December. So we're out here climbing up Mingus, and I thought I would do a little vlog type video about why I decided to sign up for the Cocodona 250, which I did a few weeks ago. So I was on the fence about it for a long time. The short story is I was on the fence and I watched the Aravaipa documentary that just came out for Cocodona called Inaugural Year, which covered the 2021 Cocodona race. And it's a really well done documentary, really inspirational. And that was kind of like the final straw to convince me to just kind of sign up for it. But the real reasons why I signed up, I guess, go back a little bit more than that. So if anyone's interested into what goes through someone's head before they sign up for their first 200 miler, maybe this video will be interesting. So, I didn't grow up running at all. I didn't really play sports in high school. I was a band kid. So I did marching band, concert band, jazz band, all that stuff. Which, marching band gives you a little bit of cardio, but it's nothing like, running or doing track and field or cross country or anything. But I loved marching band, and I still do. I did it all throughout college. Did 5 years of drum corps, if anyone's familiar with that activity, which is a little more physical, but still nothing like this. So I didn't really grow up running, like I said. After college, I was definitely content just being a couch potato for a while, and didn't really start running until probably late 2016. I would just go for a few runs during the week just to try to get in better shape. I did my first race in October, I believe, of 2016, which was a 6.6K, so a little over a 5K. Did that, kind of got a feel for what it was to enter a race, kind of liked that whole vibe. So throughout 2017, I did a couple of more smaller races, 5Ks, 10Ks. I did that same 6.6K race. 2018 rolled around. I decided that I was going to train to run a marathon. So in January of 2018, I started a 16-week training block that I followed pretty closely. I trained pretty hard for it. Now, that was only running like 3 times a week, and it would be an interval/speed workout, a tempo run, and then a long run on the weekends. And those are the 3 runs that you would do, and each week it would just kind of increase in length leading up to the marathon, with a 3-week taper, of course. So I kind of got an idea of what I could do pace-wise pretty early, and I decided to make it my goal to run a sub 4-hour marathon, which I did. I ended up running, it was the Pittsburgh Marathon, which is where I'm from, where I lived my whole life up until a few years ago. So I ran Pittsburgh 2018 in 3 hours, 55 minutes. So I was super stoked with that. You know, I had this goal to run a marathon, did it. Had another goal to run a sub 4, did it. And that was kind of like, I thought that was like the pinnacle of what you could do with running, was to run a marathon, you know. Like, I guess I had heard about these longer races, but, you know, I always figured that you had to be like a professional athlete or, you know, someone crazy to run further than a marathon. So after I did that, I kind of hit like post-race depression for a while, which isn't all that uncommon, not just with running, but with anything. You know, you kind of set this big goal out for yourself. You devote all this time to achieve that goal, you achieve it, and then it's almost like, what do I do now? Like, what are the next steps to take? For me, like, I didn't really have any. So I had tried to keep up with running after that marathon in 2018, but like didn't really have the drive to. So I kind of got out of it for a while. So fast forward, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 months, I end up moving to Arizona from Pittsburgh for various reasons. I mean, I was kind of trying to move on with a certain chapter in my life. Kind of wanted like a fresh start kind of thing. Plus, like, I absolutely love it out here, you know, so I kind of just kind of took a leap of faith and made it happen. So I ended up moving to Arizona in January 2019, and right around that time I discovered trail running, because I kept getting this advertisement in my Facebook feed for vacation races, specifically for their Antelope Canyon ultra marathon. And I saw that and I'm like, man, that sounds awesome. Sign me up. So I signed up for the Antelope Canyon 55K 2019, did that, which, believe it or not, was my first trail run ever. It was Antelope Canyon 55K. I trained for it, but I was so clueless that I trained pretty much on roads. Like, I had no idea how different trail running and road running are, just from the training required to the gear required. I just didn't know. I was a total roadie. So, but I did the Antelope Canyon 55K in 2019, and it's like, man, did that open my eyes up to everything that's out there. So I've kind of been hooked on trail running ever since that race. I ended up linking up with a local running group here in Prescott called the Prescott Area Trail Runners. And we just go do different trails each week. Great group of people. And they kind of helped me along just in terms of like what it is to be a trail runner compared to a road runner. So, long story short, ever since that 55K, I've just been steadily working my way up the ultra distance ranks. But I knew, like, as soon as I learned about 100-mile races and learned that, like, that was the thing that people do, I immediately knew it was something that I knew I had to try one day. Because when I get into something, I tend to, like, really get into it. I kind of have an obsessive personality in that regard. So even though, like, I was still a ways off back in 2019, I just knew that, like, 100-miler was definitely something I wanted to do. And I guess the 200-mile distance is kind of the same thing. Like, it just seems logical, right? You do a couple 100-milers, what's next? 200-miler. So that's kind of what planted the seed for me to run a 200. Now, I didn't think it would be Cocodona. I've always kind of said that the Moab 240 was like my dream race or my bucket list race. There's a little overlook up here we'll stop at as we're nearing the end of this climb. Still a couple tenths to go, about a quarter mile. I'll show you guys the view here. So I was actually gonna sign up for Moab in 2022. I had every intention on signing up for it, to be honest, until recently. So Cocodona took place in 2021, and like a lot of you guys, I'm sure, I was glued to the live stream that Airvipa did for that race all week. I mean, I couldn't turn my phone off. And it was kind of in my head after that Cocodona would be something I'd want to do. But for me, when I do these ultras, it's kind of like an excuse to go travel and explore a new place, which is kind of why I moved here. One of the reasons why I moved here to Prescott specifically is because it's like so centrally located. Like, I can day trip just about anywhere I want in the state of Arizona pretty easily. So that's a lot of what I like to do on weekends is, you know, just take an hour drive and go somewhere new and hit up the trails, explore new places. And I love that about trail running, is that, you know, you can go to Bryce Canyon or Zion or just these awesome places and you can just run there. It's awesome. So I wasn't sure if I wanted to do Cocodona just for the fact that I'm familiar with a lot of it. But then I was thinking more about it, and for my first 200 miler, it really makes sense for it to be here. I'm familiar with a lot of the course, and in fact, what I'm climbing right now is part of the Cocodona course. This is the climb up Mingus. So this is the Cocodona route that I'm on right now. I live 15 minutes from here. On the other side of that hill is the housing development where I live. And I run this trail like once a week. But not only this trail, like I'm familiar with all of the Prescott trails that are included in Cocodona, like the Watson Lake Loop, Peavine Trail, Iron King Trail, you know, even like Senator Highway. I've run all that, you know, and then like the Black Canyon Trail where the course starts, I've run that section. I've run a ton in Sedona, and then even the parts I'm not familiar with, I have the opportunity, living so close, to just go practice. Which, like, I want to go to Eldon, which I've never climbed. I want to hit that at least once or twice before the race. So it's like, for something as unknown as a 200 miler, which that's kind of part of the appeal too, is that it's so unknown to me. I can control a lot of the variables just by being so familiar with this landscape. And it's also kind of cool to think about that there's this epic 250 mile foot race that goes across Arizona that people travel all over the country for and all over the world for, honestly. And it literally cuts through my backyard. So on the Cocodona route, once you get off the Iron King Trail, before you go into Fain Ranch to climb Mingus, where I'm on now, there's this open field that it cuts through. And my house is like on the other side of that field. Like when I walk my dog around the block, that field is like, it's on the road. And I remember walking my dog last year while the race was going on and seeing Cocodona runners make their way through that field. And I'm like, man, that's so cool that this epic race It's happening like literally right where I live. And it's kind of a cool thing to think about, you know, being over 100 miles, I think, or right around 100 miles into that race, being able to run through that field and pretty much being able to point to my street. Like, that's pretty cool. You know, and if I were to do like Moab or Tahoe or any of the other 200s, like, I wouldn't have that. You know, the whole thing would be completely unknown. So it kind of made sense for me to have some familiarity going into such an unknown distance for me. So we're nearing the top of the climb now. So we'll start running here in a little bit. But those are kind of parts of why I wanted to sign up for Cocodona. And it also seemed to kind of fall into place just like on a personal level. Like, so these races, these 200s are pretty expensive, you know, in between the permitting and the EMTs and all the food and all that, like, it adds up. So it was what, after taxes and everything, close to $1,500 to sign up for Cocodona, which is standard for 200s. But like, I recently refinanced my house, and when you refinance, you don't have a mortgage payment for a month. So like, I had that money freed up, you know. So did I save it? Did I invest it back into the house? Did I, you know, do anything like that? No. Sign up for a 200? Absolutely. So like, just things like that seemed like it made sense for me to do. And not only am I familiar with the course, but I also know people locally through my trail running group that have done it. So I know 5 people that ran it and finished last year. I have 4 people that I know that are running it this year. So that wealth of information is awesome. Not to mention, I've had 5 people that I run with volunteer to pace me. Like, I haven't even had to ask anyone, which I'm like so thankful for, that I have this network of people that I can not only pull knowledge from, but that are willing to pace me to get through this thing. And again, I wouldn't have that at Moab or Tahoe or Bigfoot or any of the other 200s, but living here in Prescott, I do. So the Cocodona route actually keeps climbing up 28 that way to get to the top of Mingus, but we're going on this to loop back down. This is called the Jaeger Canyon Loop Trail, for anyone that's curious. I run this a lot. If anyone follows me on Strava, I run this like once a week. It's definitely my favorite local loop to run. So again, just the knowledge of the course, the knowledge of the landscape, the connections I have, not to mention, like, I'm gonna know probably a dozen people at the various aid stations that are gonna be working it and volunteering it. So it kind of made sense the more I thought about it to run Cocodona. And I've always kind of had the attitude of, if I want to do something, I'm just going to give it a shot and do it. I don't see the point in waiting. Which is weird. Like, I'm very much a type 9 on the Enneagram, if you guys are familiar with that, except in this area. Like, if I want to do something, I'm going to go out and do it. And so it's like, the thought crossed my mind of, well, shouldn't I get a couple more 100 milers under my belt before I try 200? But then it's like, no, why not just go for it? You know, I know how to get through a 100 miler. So what's the point in waiting another year? Just go for it now. Plus the fact that, like, I'm at a point in my life right now where, you know, if you're better or worse, it is what it is, but I can dedicate a lot of time to train for this thing. Like, I'm single, I live by myself, you know, I have my dog, but other than that, I don't really have a lot of obligations besides work, you know, and the place that I work at currently are so flexible with taking time off. Like, the fact that I can take a week off of work to run this thing is not a big deal at all. And it's like, I might not have that a year from now, you know, like I could have more responsibilities at work where I can't take that time off, or I could have a girlfriend, or, well, yeah, that probably won't happen. Let's be real. But you never know. I believe in miracles. But like right now, I'm just a single dude. So like, I can devote all the time I want to train for this thing. And I have, what, 6 months before the race starts. So that's a good chunk of time to where I feel like I can dedicate a lot of time to be out on the trails, to put in the strength training, and to really get it dialed in to give myself a good shot to finish. So this has kind of been a long, rambly video that I would be surprised if anyone actually watches, but those are just kind of my thoughts on why I decided to sign up for Cocodona, why I decided to do it this year instead of waiting. Do I feel like I'm ready for it? No, but I've done a couple 100-milers now, and you know, I've never felt ready for one of those, no matter how much training I do. So I think it's one of those things where you just kind of have to go for it. Stop making excuses. If you want to do it, just try it, and what's the worst that happens? You DNF and still get a great experience, you know? I know I would have regretted it this year if I didn't try it. I know I would have. It would have eaten at me. So it was kind of inevitable, me signing up for it. And the people that I'm close with, that I'm really good friends with, that really know me, like, none of them were surprised when I posted on Facebook that I registered for Cocodona. So it's just kind of how I'm wired, and it's how I've always been, for better or worse. If I want to go do something, I'm gonna go for it, and that's what I'm gonna do with Cocodona. I'm gonna give it my all. Now, if there's like questions you guys have about how I'm gonna train for it or prep for it or anything like that, if you guys are interested in kind of taking this journey with me, taking this leap forward into the 200-mile distance, maybe I can do some follow-up videos. I'm planning on doing a lot of vert, more than I already do, and I do a good bit of vert living on the mountains, but like I'll be hitting up the canyon a lot. I'll be doing like camelback repeats and that sort of thing, in addition to running and throwing in some strength training. But maybe I'll do some more specific videos just to cover the logistics of how to get through this thing. And I'll definitely capture the actual race. You know, I'm no Wes Plate or Kerry Ward, but I'll certainly try to get some good footage just to capture my journey of this thing. I think that would be cool, because this is probably going to be like the most epic thing that I do. I mean, let's be real. Doesn't get much more epic than the Cocodona route. I don't think I mentioned what the route was, which I was going to when I started this video. I mean, I'm sure that everyone watching this kind of already knows, but just in case, it starts in Black Canyon City, climbs up through the Bradshaw Mountains down into Crown King, climbs up some more, then you come down Center Highway into Prescott, through Whiskey Row, through Watson Lake, through Prescott Valley, where I live, up through Mingus, where I currently am running, down on the other side of Mingus, into Jerome, and down into Clarkdale, Cottonwood. You run past Toosagoot and Dead Horse State Park. Then you go through Sedona. Now this year they're changing the route up, so it's actually going to go kind of through uptown Sedona. It's going to drop down underneath the Dixie Bridge through Oak Creek Canyon before climbing up the Coconino Plateau. Then you're going to hit Flagstaff, climb up Mount Eldon, and then it's going to finish in Heritage Square, downtown Flag. So it's 250-ish miles. Last year it was closer to 257. I know they're trying to modify the route to get it closer to that 250. 42,000 feet of climb, 37,000 feet of descent, and it's a 125-hour time limit or cutoff limit, so about 5 days to get through it. So that's the Cocodona route. That's what I'm going to be attempting here. May 2nd through the 7th is when the race is. So yeah, I'm just going to devote the next 5 or 6 months to getting as strong as I can, getting as many miles under me as I can, getting as much vert in as I can. So, like I said, if you want to follow along the training journey, look at that. It's awesome. I can certainly post some follow-up videos, just kind of give you guys an inside look at what it takes. So I think that's about all I wanted to say. I'm gonna finish this run up and down around Jaeger Canyon, up here on Mingus Mountain. If you watched me ramble for, gosh, how long is this? 27 minutes? Thank you. Hope that you found it interesting. And if you have any specific questions about Cocodona or how I'm prepping for it, let me know in the comments. I enjoy hearing from you guys. And yeah, I'll keep posting some content along the way. So thanks for watching.